We are live once again for another Domo Lunch and Learn, and this time we have a packed house talking about ChatGPT and natural language to improve your Domo experience. And when I say packed house, I am not kidding. Look at this. This may be the most people we ever have on the live stream. We're breaking records today on the Domo Lunch and Learn, backed by popular demand, obviously, because these folks are ready to hit the ground running. There has been a huge amount of buzz about ChatGPT, and when I met with Ben and some other folks internally, we said, hey, let's jump on and have a discussion. And we are so excited to also have invited in this large language model and natural language querying ChatGPT world. We're so excited to welcome our friends from Pramana. I want to say it correctly, Pramana, in their Shift product, which can be deployed as a Domo app. If you have questions or comments, please make sure you put those in the comments or live chat section, wherever it sits, down below, to the right, to the left, wherever you're viewing on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We welcome those comments. I've got a lot of folks to introduce, so bear with me as we get through this list. Exciting times ahead. Corey Patton, the co-founder and CEO of Pramana. Chet Patel, co-founder and CTO of Pramana. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Ben Shine, our Senior Vice President of Data Curiosity and Product here at Domo. Noah Finberg, Manager, Data App Innovation at Domo. And Braxton Fullenkamp, Senior Solutions Consultant at Domo. Let me not forget, we have a man in the background. We'll put him on the spot. Here he is. You're only going to see him once. Jace McLean. He is in the background, going to be answering all of your questions on the chat. So make sure you throw those in the comments section, wherever it may be. Jace, thank you for being here. See you later. That's about all you're going to get from Jace today. I owe him something for that one. So let's go ahead and get started. Ben, I'm going to toss it to you. Lots of things happening with ChatGPT. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you hosting this event.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited, both the fact that we're doing these events more often, a chance for us to be more transparent about where we're innovating in product and at Domo with partners, with customers and all that. And so this is a nice chance to do that and to leverage this new sort of platform for us on a twice-a-week basis. So you'll assume more from me and my team and these guys as we go. Just to sort of frame this a little bit, I mean, I think most people have heard of ChatGPT since it launched in November, and it's been exciting. And I've used it for simple things. I've talked about it with my 9th grader about whether they banned it at school because he has to write his own English papers, right? And we've heard from lots of customers who are exploring these things, understanding what could this mean for me? What does it mean to use ChatGPT or OpenAI versus another large language model versus other approaches. And one of the things that I love about Domo and I'm really passionate about with our product is that it's an ecosystem that I often talk about it as making sure that low code doesn't piss off high code, right? That we have ways and that people who have a higher code skill set, whether that's in Jupyter or writing SQL or other things like that, can sort of live in the same place and build back and forth with people who have a lower code skill set. And it also gives us that flexibility that as new technology comes in, we have ways, whether, the DDX bricks, which Braxton will show you, or partners like Pramana, where we have different ways to engage with this technology. And so I don't ever want us to be locked into one technology, one approach, one algorithm, one service, right? That's rigid and it could be risky for us, for our customers. And so part of why we put this together, part of why we want just talking is to show that landscape, show how ChatGPT can do some really cool things, how when you really get to enterprise scale and need more business precision, you need a little bit more. And that's where partners like Pramana help us deliver that to our customers. And so I'm going to let this team really go deep. Again, a lot of this is more thought leadership, more just leaning into like, hey, what are we looking at? What are we exploring? And then we'll continue to talk more about where that takes our product, our partners' products, and ultimately the value we deliver to our customers. So I'm going to turn over to Braxton. He has some cool things he's been playing with ChatGPT, and then we'll hit Pramana and Noah as well about some of the ways we've explored this kind of technology. So enjoy, everyone. I'm excited to share all this.
Yeah, appreciate the hosting there and getting us kind of level set before we started. Huge crowd joining us across all these platforms. You saw the comments popping. So I just wanted to make a quick note. We did have a comment come in from Anita on LinkedIn. Can we get a recording of this video today? These things live and breathe on all of the platforms the moment we hit stop broadcast. So just find it back on to the LinkedIn, or find it back on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you might be watching. And it will live there for eternity, at least until we get shut down by our social media team. But for now, they've given me the keys, so we're okay. Who are we starting with today? Braxton, is it you?
Yep.
All right,
me.
Braxton, go ahead and get us started. Again, if you have any questions, keep those coming on LinkedIn. Our good friend Jace, there he is. Jace, say hey. Hey, there he is. All right, now he's gone. All right, so Jace is answering all the comments. Braxton, we're going to let you get started. Thanks again.
Thanks, Eddie. Braxton Fullenkamp, Senior Solutions Consultant here at Domo. And I have to admit, I'm sort of a self-proclaimed appaholic. I get the pleasure of working with some of our largest customers and see what they're doing with our app platform. I have one problem, though. My front-end web development skills stopped somewhere around 2006 when I last updated my MySpace profile. So I've been struggling to kind of get back into building apps and really learning. And so when Domo launched the DDX platform and allowed our customers to build apps in the platform without having to set up an IDE or know how to work with the APIs, that really encouraged me to get back into this. And then I saw, videos and postings online of people using ChatGPT to really start building apps or building the frameworks for their apps. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today, is just some of the stuff that I've been playing with over the last week or two. And hopefully this will inspire you guys to take ChatGPT and the things that it can do and really blend it in with your Domo program and the things that we all know and love Domo for. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. So one of the first things that I did, like I said, I went and I saw people all over online using ChatGPT to build the framework for different apps. And so the first thing that I tried was, let's see if we can build a DDX brick that can just call out to the OpenAI API or the ChatGPT API. And so I fed ChatGPT this prompt. I said, give me the code in HTML, JavaScript, and CSS to write an app. The app should have a header called input prompt here. It should be have an input box about 80 characters wide, a button that says prompt open AI API, and a box for the results. So that's kind of defining what the app should look like from an HTML perspective. Then I gave it some more information about what I wanted the app to do. So I wanted the app to actually take that prompt from the input box, send it to an API, get the result back, and place it into our result box. And then I gave it some cues on some CSS. What do I want this app to what do I want the design to look like? So I want it to have a gray background, and I want to make the buttons orange. And when I hover over them, I want a drop shadow. So I really wanted to see how advanced and how deep I could go with the prompt and what that result might look like. So jumping into ChatGPT, here's the prompt. That's the same prompt that was in the PowerPoint. And here's the code for the app. And so I was really pleased, but also a little shocked that this came back in such a clean format that really allowed me to just copy this code. So we have the HTML, we have the JavaScript, which is doing the function to call ChatGPT, and then we have the CSS and even a note where I need to make some tweaks in order to make this work. And so I started in Domo by going to our app store and searching for DDX. And when I did that, one of the top bricks that comes up is our HTML easy brick. And so you can launch this, and this gives you just some really basic foundation. You can connect data sets to this, and you can basically edit the code right in place, right? There's no installation necessary of any software. And then from there, I took that code from ChatGPT and I pasted it right into the app. So we can see we have our JavaScript here, our function that's going out and calling an API endpoint. We have our HTML, that is just the basic foundation here. And then we have our CSS that's giving us things like our background and our hover. And, hoping the API is working, let's ask ChatGPT a question. Let's go with, what is Domo? And at this point, this is making that API call. and getting the most likely response. And then we can see here that the app is functioning as we would expect it to. So it's giving us, facts about Domo here. So I think this is really powerful because this really required me to just understand how to give a prompt. And, I did have to iterate over that prompt a little bit to kind of get exactly what I wanted, but it's pretty much a copy and paste type solution. The next thing that I did was I wanted to see how I could have ChatGPT interact with the schema of a data set. And so in a very similar fashion, I asked ChatGPT, can you give me an app that has a little bit more function to it? And I have this reading in the schema of the data set. So it's just looking at the column headers, and we can see those are being printed out here. And in this case, I'm doing a little bit of prompt engineering to say, okay, my end user is going to input a question, and I want ChatGPT to give me back the SQL to answer that question. So let's go with, who is the top salesperson? How much revenue did they generate? And from there, like I said, we're doing a little bit of prompt engineering to say, I want a certain format of SQL to come back from ChatGPT that kind of meets these general requirements for data that's in this schema. And then GPT is returning back the SQL that I'm passing to Domo SQL endpoint. And so in this case, I'm just building a really simple table. And this in no way is full production ready, but this is, I think, just a great experiment to see what we can do given the technology that's only been out since November and some of the capabilities that the Domo platform provides in order to build out the framework of what could be a really impactful app. And so with that, I want to pass it over to the Pramana Labs team, because they've done just that. They've taken their own large language model, they've built a lot of business logic and process around it and created a really great app. So I'm going to pass it over now to Corey.
Awesome. Thank you, Braxton. I'm going to go ahead and I'll present my screen in just a second. But look, I want to dovetail on what Braxton just showed and what Ben said earlier and what Eddie said earlier about this is exciting. This new large language model technology, this ChatGPT, is incredibly exciting. I think it's got tremendous potential to really enhance and make things developed with rapidity. And I think that it's an incredible way to integrate with business on a developer level, on a building into larger projects level. But I think the way we look at it at Pramana in a lot of ways, and along with Domo, is that today's enterprise users and enterprise is really looking to create that culture of self-service and of data curiosity that a lot of these tools can help with. And we feel that language of all kinds is really the best way to create that culture, because it's intuitive and it's inherent, and it's really the way that today's business user interacts with their data. They want to be able to text things, type things, ask questions the way they want to and the way that they normally do in their daily life. But how do you put that framework around it? And I think Braxton touched on that. You really need a framework around all this language that really guides the user, that directs the enterprise user with a bit more of a deterministic approach, and really provides that confidence along with allowing that curiosity. And that's where Pramana Shift and the way that we work as a plug and play product really fits into that natural language puzzle along with Domo. And we feel like we created what we like to say is a true conversational approach to solving the enterprise business challenges that allows users the flexibility to ask questions the way that they want. Different sentence structures, different misspellings, the way that they ask questions into a search engine normally that doesn't hard code them into asking things in a certain direction. And we do the incredible hard work on the back end to provide confident, accurate answers at scale on demand for the enterprise user. And Domo allows us to drop our app directly into their platform to really enable and facilitate that whole experience. So I'm going to show you a quick demo of what we can do inside the Domo architecture for those looking for more of a plug and play enterprise product that leverages large language models, but also makes sure that the output is verified, accurate, and it's a true self-service with confidence approach to the problem of natural language at the enterprise level. Okay. As Braxton showed earlier, in the Domo App Store, you could find the listing for the DDX bricks to get to that type of architecture. But I wanted to show those that are on the Domo platform that you can go directly into the Domo App Store and find our full Pramana Shift app directly in the Domo App Store to drop into your Domo infrastructure and environment, just like I'll show you, for instance, this. It drops in just like any other app or like a DDX brick into the Domo environment to provide users the flexibility of asking questions in natural language throughout their entire Domo architecture and infrastructure across data sets and across dashboards. But I'm going to give a quick example of how this works, and I'm going to expand it and do it full screen so you can see. This is leveraging a multitude of data sets that are coming in, and these are publicly available data sets, and I'll show that in the public way. This is inflation data set and a gas data set and a jobs data set. All of these melded into one Shift interface that gets dropped into your Domo environment to allow you to ask those natural language questions without having to build apps, without having to really know what's going on behind the scene, but gets you this answer with confidence. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to show you what we mean when we say conversational. And this data, at the end of this presentation, I think they'll share the link. This will be an open environment for everybody viewing this can go and test this out for themselves and ask questions about this type of data, this actual environment I'm showing you right now, inflation and gas and jobs and stuff, and show you how it works. So you can test it that way. But say you wanted to know about a topic that's really top of mind right now. People talk about the, quitting and quiet quitting and that type of, issue that's happening in the job market. What if you wanted to come in here and say, okay, how about show me monthly quits in, let's do finance in the US since 2001. Couple things. Immediately upon typing that, it's going to show you a guided experience, which is what I mean when I talk about guiding the user to an experience to get the proper outcome. And one of the things with the large language model and the ChatGPT is what happens if you get what happens if you get a, let me go back and type that because of course the browser refreshed. All right, perfect. What happens if you type that in and that's not exactly what you're asking for? The user in a ChatGPT system is going to try to give you an answer. It's going to suppose something and you're going to get that in front of you. What if you're actually the user is looking for instance, if I'm saying show me monthly quits in finance in the US since a certain date, what if you're looking for since a certain month? What if you're actually looking for yearly quits? If you're looking to compare, you want them in a certain state. We're trying to guide the user using natural language to a quick and easily interpretable result by just typing it in natural language. And we will provide the infrastructure down below for you to get to the question that you're looking for and dropping that in and getting an instant answer. So the conversational piece, and I'll show you how you then, it's as simple as clicking on and getting an instant answer out of that page. But we're also going to do a bit of narrative natural language reporting on the other side, creating the actual output in a sentence level, because we think that's a digestible piece of information for the user to know as well, trying to get you from natural language to answer as quickly as possible. But the conversational approach to natural language that everybody experiences in their daily life when they text makes a mistake and you get autocorrect can be shown right here. If a user comes in and they just start typing the way that they would in their daily life, you got to expect you're going to have mistakes, but we're going to try to figure out what the user's saying. I'm just going to mix this all up. And the system with this garbage is still going to come back with, I think this is what you're trying to ask us. And I think this is what you mean by that. And then the user just comes in and says, yes, this is what we're looking for. Click on this, instant answer comes back in a full narrative sentence, table, chart, everything's configurable, editable, exportable. You can swizzle all this stuff around. And then of course you can also get it in charts, graphs, and natural language on the fly to then send around to the enterprise. And that's really what we're trying to do with natural language, is get from that question to that answer really quickly with a very confined, verified, accurate output, so that today's data worker can simply ask a question in natural language, get an output in various ways, send that around, solve their problems, and not have to be stuck in that reporting doom loop of trying to find somebody that knows how to access that information on the fly. And I want to do one more thing before I pass the baton. I want to go ahead and ask a question. Let me ask another question here about, let's look for things that's also topical right now. What month had the highest inflation rate? Let's do eggs, since they're really topical now about how expensive they've become. And I'm going to look for the month with the highest inflation rate for eggs since the year 2000. And what I wanted to show you here is, this is how you do the round trip directly into your Domo environment. As you see now, you have a link here into your Domo dashboard. So if we're looking for this highest inflation rate for eggs, not only do you have charts and graphs out of the Shift tool that you can export, but you can also go directly see it in all of your Domo environment, in your Domo cards, your visualizations, your inspection tools, and go do deep dive on that directly from a natural language to a Domo visualization with one click. So, and before I leave, the one last thing, and then I want to go back to the other folks, is we also do what we call a two-way conversation with that data, because I think it's important that today's enterprise users have the ability to let the product write things for them about changing data that you didn't know, or alert them about certain things that are changing in their data sets that they don't want to keep track of on a daily or weekly basis. And we'll do all that work for you on the back end. So if you're just looking for things like, Denver gas prices, all of these get written every single night. They're up to date. You notice that when things change and new reporting comes in, all this gets written up so that the user gets prompted and promoted about things in their data set that may be repetitive, or that they can actually take and make actionable decisions on at a high level. And it's all driven by just a curiosity-driven natural language engagement. So I want to go ahead and pass it back over to Noah, because I think Noah is actually going to take over now and show you a bit more inside the environment, inside Domo, of what you can do on a more developer level, but really, really impactful stuff.
Thanks, Corey. Really cool. The Shift app is amazing. Just showing that guided experience. One of the things you mentioned that you get from ChatGPT and large language models in general is, it's going to make up an answer for you, right? It's going to give you something, but how do you know that it's accurate? And so what you guys have done, all that hard work, getting your solution to, give reliable results and make it easy for the user, it's really impressive. So great demo. I want to show something slightly different. The use case here is leveraging Jupyter notebooks in Domo. So one of the features that a lot of our customers don't know about is you can actually launch a Jupyter notebook in Python or in R in Domo and kind of leverage the entire Python or R ecosystem directly in the product in a secure way. Connects to data sets, connects to account credentials, which are stored securely. So I want to show that. And one example that, I thought would be really interesting was, what if we used GPT to ask questions of our own knowledge base? Domo is a product with whole range of different tools. And so, it's a constant, I don't want to say struggle, but constant, exercise to be learning how to use everything that Domo can do. And oftentimes, if you go into a knowledge base and you type in a few keywords, you'll get a couple articles, and then you have to read through those articles and figure out, okay, well, where do I actually find how to do something? And so what I did, and I'll just share my screen here, and Eddie, let me know if you see that. What I did was I went ahead and scraped our own knowledge base at Domo. And this is the data set. So I used Jupyter Workspaces to clean up the data and put it here. What you see is a link for each article, the title of that article, and each row represents actually a section within a given article and the text of that article. So we have a data set essentially of our knowledge base broken out into its component sections. the process here, and I won't go too deep into the technical weeds, but of creating a question and answer system on top of our knowledge base really has 5 steps. The first step is we have to generate embeddings. We have to turn the text of each article into a mathematical object, into a representation that machines can understand. That when you feed text to a large language model, it doesn't know English per se, but it can create a mathematical object that it uses to kind of embed meaning from whatever sentence you came in. So one of the things that I think is not fully appreciated or talked about enough is OpenAI, along with their ChatGPT model, along with a few of their other endpoints. They actually have their own embedding model, which is extremely powerful, and it lets you take text and turn it into a vector representation. I'll show you what that looks like. So essentially, you can think of it taking text and turning it into a series of numbers that somehow encapsulate the meaning of that text. Once you have the knowledge base converted to embeddings, so I'll show what that looks like, you can take a user's input question and create an embedding on the fly from that question. So once you have all the articles associated with sort of mathematical representation, you can take the question and its mathematical representation and use that to identify the sections of each article that are most likely to contain the answer. From there, and that's this step here, you find the sections of the knowledge-based articles that are most similar to the input question. From there, you can then do a little bit of prompt engineering, and you saw Braxton kind of showing you have to be a little bit clever in how you ask GPT to give you something, but you construct a prompt containing the knowledge-based sections in the input itself, and then ask it to write up an answer based on the sections across multiple articles in our knowledge base. So I'm just going to walk through and show you a couple examples of that. A few callouts before I jump into the actual prompt response kind of logic. One thing that's really amazing in the Jupyter environment is you can store your API key securely in a Domo accounts object. And you can share and manage that credential with any number of users without them ever seeing the key. Right here, it's so like you can pull the key in and use it, but really being able to load third-party credentials securely is a nice feature. So the first step I mentioned was we actually have to generate embeddings. And so this process takes some time, but once you generate the embeddings, you don't have to recompute them. So I'll just show you this block here. And what it is you'll recognize the data set looks pretty similar to the input I started with here, except instead of this text, you see a really long list of numbers. And what this is a vector representation of the string of text associated with this article. So 1,500 column vector, it's actually pretty amazing that we can take these numbers, they don't really mean anything to us when we look at them, embed so much meaning on their own. And so I'll show you what that looks like in a practical sense. If you, for example, want to find the sections of our knowledge base that answer a particular question, you send in a question and you'll get the embedding for that question and then calculate the similarity between all the embeddings across our knowledge base. So in this case, I asked, how do I get my data set into Jupyter Workspaces? And you can see it found 5 sections across actually the same article, unsurprisingly, the Jupyter Workspaces article, where the answer is most likely to be. So, we're getting some really powerful search that's not just keyword based, but actually leverages the full power of the embeddings that ChatGPT uses under the hood. So once I have this, we do a little bit of prompt engineering. And what you'll see here is that in the prompt that I send over, I'm being a little bit tricky. And this is per OpenAI's advice in the tutorial that they do around the same type of application. They say you need to tell GPT or GPT, the completions endpoint, to be as honest as possible. So it's weird. You have to ask it to be truthful, right? Because it's not always truthful. Say, answer the question as truthfully as possible using the provided context. And if the answer is not in the context below, just tell me you don't know, right? Tell me I don't know. And the context, right, is those sections of the article that we found to be most similar. So it's a multi-step process going on here. But in that way, we can kind of ensure that the answer that GPT provides you is actually coming from the text of the documents that we care about. So let me just show you some examples because it's pretty fun. For example, if I ask, how do I get my data set into Jupyter Workspaces? We'll see it running live right now. It's getting the embedding for that question. It's going to figure out the articles where it's most likely to contain the answer. And then it's going to use really nice natural language to write up a response for you. So you can see in this case, it actually did a really good job. It gives you 5 steps for exactly how to get a data set into Jupyter Workspaces, even down to hover over your workspace. And that's actually pretty amazing to me because the input text, you can see here, is just a blob of text from our knowledge base. It's not formatted really well. It's like you don't have that list of numbers, right? So part of this is making the response more understandable for humans and accessible across multiple sections of different articles, right? So that was really cool. I'll just do a couple others because, to show you how powerful this is. Can I load an account into Jupyter? And, it finds the articles, the sections of the articles, and it kind of gives you this natural response, like, yes, you can load an account into Jupyter by navigating to step 5. And, we can provide a reference to this article so you can see what step 5 is in the context of. It's actually referring to this step here. And really get a natural answer, right? We don't have in our knowledge base anywhere that says, yes, you can do this thing, right? That's just not how you write an article usually in conversational tone. But because we're leveraging GPT, we can kind of translate the responses. One thing I want to call out is this approach to building question answering on top of knowledge bases. Well, it's applicable across a lot of organizations. It can also be a pretty useful tool to figure out where your knowledge base or even the terminology that you use to describe your product can be confusing. So I have this question here called, asking, what are the benefits of Sandbox? And it turns out the word Sandbox at Domo can stand for, if I don't specify it appropriately, one of a couple different products. And so when I ask it, what are the benefits of Sandbox, it will give me a response, but I'm used to using Sandbox, the toolkit element Sandbox, not the developer Sandbox. And so it actually gave me an answer that merged the benefits of using Sandbox across these 2 articles, but they refer to different products. So it did come up with an answer, but it's kind of a confusing answer because it thinks Sandbox is one product when it actually stands for 2, and so you can run into issues there. But what that says to me is, okay, we could do a better job differentiating what we call tooling in our product. We can improve our knowledge base based on asking questions of it that it either can or can't respond to. And so in this way, like this sort of application is a really powerful way to start to iteratively improve your own documentation, your own knowledge base, get more clarity around the concepts and how you're displaying your product to your users. I'll end with one that hopefully our knowledge base doesn't have the answer to. What is the meaning of life? But just to show you, like, let's see what it does when we ask it. And when we ask of our knowledge base this really existential question, it looks and it finds, like, a large number of articles where it thinks, okay, maybe the answer is in here. I guess the Meetup Dashboard app article is the most likely candidate to include that answer. So whoever built that app, good on you guys. But ultimately, it wasn't confident enough to give you an answer from any of the text in here, which makes sense because it's not a value prop on offer at Domo, as far as I know. And, last but not least, I'm missing one here. How can I learn to be really good at using Domo? Just a plug for our own teams here. Domo University is an amazing resource, and hopefully our GPT friend here will also tell us that. But plug for Domo University, plug for our dojo community where you can also go to learn. And so if you are interested in learning how to build something like this or anything else that you saw today, definitely reach out. We have a lot of resources to connect you guys with and want to enable innovation at scale, and that's something that Domo does really well. So yeah, with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Eddie, and this has been a lot of fun. So thanks for having us, Eddie.
Yeah, my mind is absolutely blown right now. I have no idea what I just saw, but it was awesome. Pramana's doing great work. Domo's doing great work. Noah, a lot of love for Noah right now on the comments section. A lot of folks asking if you're going to be sharing, publicly on GitHub or something like that. Stay tuned. There might be more news on that coming soon. And we should probably give a shout out to the man of the hour, Jace McLean. He's down there. I threw you up. Sorry, buddy. Didn't even give you a warning. He has been answering all of your questions on LinkedIn, YouTube. I think he just wants my share, which is fine. He can have it. We can do this. We can do this every day of the week. I'm going to plug his session. He just told me he is on the hook for the 14th of February. So we're going to see more of him. He doesn't have to be the man behind the curtain any longer. He'll be the guy in front of the camera talking all about the great things that Domo can do for you. Guys from Pramana, Corey, Chet, thank you guys so much for joining us. Chet should have been the man behind the curtain, I think, most of this session, right?
All good. It was a fun discussion. Hopefully we can do this in the future with more sort of natural language, large language models, and really dig into some cool concepts that we're working on. So thank you.
Yeah, love to have both of you. Thank you for sharing that tool. And before I forget, Corey, you did share with me a link. This is a public. What am I sharing here? The public Domo embedded page.
Yeah, it's exactly what I demoed on the screen a moment ago. It's open to everybody because it's just open data, and you can get on there. You can go to that link, play around, ask your own natural language questions, and get the answers and see how the tool functions. But I just wanted to make sure we talked about a little bit before you go. What I showed you was on public data, but our experience can be enabled for every single one of your private data instances on Domo as well. So not just a public tool, obviously applies to all your individual data sets.
Awesome. Lots of love for everybody here. Derek, Elliot, who is also Ellibot, excited to be here. You guys got a lot of stuff here. This is great. Well, Noah's exam will be posted on GitHub. Stay tuned. Lots of other folks that are just, Jay, our good friend Jay, loved you. A lot of stuff that was shown today, I think, is going to really impress a lot of folks watching. The audience was incredible. Thank you guys for being here. Again, joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. Make sure you're liking and subscribing and following and sharing and commenting throughout the week. These are always recorded and available on all of the platforms that we're live on, so you don't have to go searching for them. You can come right back to LinkedIn. You can come right back to YouTube and watch these as soon as we end the broadcast. So they're always going to be available, and I'm sure Noah can connect you to some internal video if you'd like to use that as well. But appreciate, Braxton, your time. Obviously, we had Ben Shine joining us earlier. Man, this crowd was great, and the hosts were pretty good company too. So thank you guys so much. Oh, more comments coming through. Great session. Thank you. This was cool. I just love this, right? So much love for the community and the folks that are, enjoying the product and have enjoyed what you guys had to say. So we're going to be live again on Tuesday. We do these every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then Thursdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. I do have to write them down because I always forget multiple time zones. We're a global company. It's just part of the job. Guys, thank you so much again. We love the audience. I could sit here and click comments all day long because everybody is enjoying the conversation. We'll see you on the next one. This was another Domo Lunch and Learn. Appreciate everybody being there. Make sure you're liking and subscribing and continuing to comment on all of this stuff. Thanks, guys.